Admiral Jake Morrison walked into the United Earth Council chamber with heavy steps. His blue uniform was clean and pressed, but his face showed the weight of 50 years spent fighting wars among the stars. The room fell silent as he approached the central podium. Representatives from every nation on Earth sat in curved rows around him, their faces tense with worry. "Ladies and gentlemen," Morrison began, his voice carrying across the vast chamber, "for 30 years we have welcomed alien visitors to our world. We opened our arms to trade, to knowledge, to what we thought was friendship. We were wrong." He pressed a button on the podium. The lights dimmed and a holographic display filled the air above their heads. Images of mining ships stripping asteroids, alien merchants selling Earth's water to distant worlds, and massive cargo vessels loaded with human art and culture flashed before the assembly. "They take our resources," Morrison continued. "They steal our ideas. They treat us like children who do not know the value of what we own. Today, this ends." Dr. Lisa Grant shifted uncomfortably in her seat near the front of the chamber. She had spent 20 years studying alien biology and culture. Her research had shown her something the military leaders refused to see. The aliens were not just traders or explorers. They were part of something much bigger and much more dangerous. "Admiral Morrison," she said, standing up. "May I speak?" Morrison nodded, though his jaw was tight. "Dr. Grant?" "The Hegemony Empire controls most of the galaxy," she said, her voice clear but worried. "They have fleets that could destroy every ship we have ever built. If we cut off contact with them, they might see it as an act of war." General Carl Stone stood up from his seat behind Morrison. Stone was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from battles fought on distant worlds. "Dr. Grant, with respect, your job is to study aliens, not to make military decisions. Our new quantum shield technology makes Earth impossible to attack. No ship can enter our space without our permission." Grant shook her head. "General, you do not understand what we are dealing with. The hegemony has conquered 67 different species. They have weapons we cannot imagine. Our shield might stop a few ships, but what happens when they send 1,000? "Then we destroy 1,000 ships," Stone replied coldly. "Earth is done being pushed around." Morrison raised his hand for silence. "The decision has been made. Earth is closing its space to all alien contact. No trade, no diplomacy, no visitors. We will defend ourselves and we will survive on our own terms." The chamber erupted in debate. Some representatives cheered, happy to finally stand up to the aliens who had been taking advantage of Earth for decades. Others looked terrified, knowing that isolation might mean war with forces beyond their understanding on Luna Base. Captain Ben Carter watched the broadcast from the command center. Around him, dozens of technicians worked at control panels, preparing to activate the planetary defense grid. The quantum shield generators hummed with power, ready to create an invisible barrier around the entire solar system. "Captain," called his sister Kate from her communications station, "we are getting signals from alien ships throughout the system. They want to know if the declaration is real." Ben nodded grimly. "Tell them it is real. Tell them they have 24 hours to leave our space or we will force them out." Kate's fingers moved across her keyboard, sending the message to more than 200 alien vessels in Earth's vicinity. Most were traders or tourists, but Ben knew that some were probably spies, gathering information for their governments. "Sir," said Lieutenant Greg Adams from the sensor station, "the alien ships are moving. Most are heading for the edge of the system, but a few are staying put." "Which ones?" Ben asked. 3 hegemony vessels near Jupiter. "They are not responding to our messages." Ben felt a chill run down his spine. The hegemony ships were military vessels, sleek and dangerous. If they refused to leave, Earth would have to make good on its threat, far beyond the edge of the solar system. Supreme Commander Kethver stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship Dominion's edge. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms that moved with careful precision. His species, the Vorth, had been the dominant force in the hegemony for 500 years. "Commander," said his aide, a nervous creature with blue scales, We have received Earth's message. They demand that all hegemony vessels leave their space immediately. Kethver made a sound that might have been laughter. Demand? These humans? Think they can demand something from the hegemony? Sir, their quantum shield technology is unknown to us. Perhaps we should consider their request. Kethver turned to face his aide, his 4 eyes glowing with anger. The hegemony has ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. We have never been denied access to any world. We will not start now. He walked to the main display, which showed a map of the galaxy. Earth was a tiny dot near the edge of hegemony space, surrounded by trade routes that had enriched the Empire for decades. Send word to the fleet commanders, Kethver ordered. Begin mobilization. If the humans want to close their space, we will show them what happens when you defy the hegemony. Back on Earth, President Helen Davis stood in the Oval Office, staring out at the night sky. She had supported Morrison's declaration, but now she wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. Her advisor, Colonel Pete Williams, stood beside her, equally quiet. Do you think we did the right thing? She asked. Williams was silent for a long moment. Madam President, for 30 years we watched them take whatever they wanted from our world. Our children grew up thinking that humans were second-class citizens in our own galaxy. Maybe it is time they learned that we are not as weak as they think. In her laboratory beneath the Swiss Alps, Dr. Amy Foster worked frantically at her computer. She had been monitoring deep space for signs of alien activity since the declaration. What she was seeing made her blood run cold. Massive energy signatures were gathering at the edge of the galaxy. Far beyond the range of Earth's sensors, she grabbed her phone and dialed Admiral Morrison's emergency line. Admiral, this is Dr. Foster. You need to see what I am detecting. The aliens are not just leaving, they are gathering. Something big is coming. Morrison's voice was tired. How big, Doctor? Sir, based on these energy readings, I estimate they are assembling the largest fleet in recorded galactic history. We might have weeks, maybe less. The line went silent for several seconds. Then Morrison spoke again, his voice hard as steel. Doctor, send me everything you have. If they want a war, we will give them one they will never forget. As Dr. Foster uploaded her data, she wondered if Earth's leaders truly understood what they had started. The hegemony had crushed rebellions on dozens of worlds. They had weapons that could crack planets and shields. That had never been broken. But as she looked up at the night sky through her laboratory window, she felt something she had not expected. Pride. For the first time in her life, humanity was standing up for itself. Whatever came next, they would face it as free people, above Earth's atmosphere. The quantum shield generators reached full power. The invisible barrier that now protected the solar system was humanity's greatest achievement, a wall of pure energy that bent space itself. No alien ship could cross it without Earth's permission. On the bridge of Liberty Station, Commander Ryan Brooks watched the last alien traders flee the solar system. Their ships moved quickly, eager to escape before Earth's deadline expired. All alien vessels have cleared our space, reported his sensor operator, Lieutenant Frank Walsh. We are alone. Brooks nodded. For the first time in 30 years, Earth's space belonged only to Earth. But as he looked out at the stars, he knew this was not an ending. It was the beginning of something that would change everything. In the depths of space, the hegemony fleet continued to grow. Ships arrived from every corner of the galaxy, their crews eager to teach the upstart humans a lesson about power and respect. They had no idea that humanity's greatest strength was not their shield technology or their weapons. It was their refusal to give up. 6 months had passed since Earth declared its space closed to all alien contact. The quantum shield held strong around the solar system, and humanity had begun to believe they were truly safe behind their barrier of energy and determination. Commander Ryan Brooks stood on the bridge of Liberty Station, Earth's most advanced orbital defense platform. Through the viewport, he could see the curve of Earth below, blue and peaceful in the morning light. It was hard to believe that somewhere in the darkness beyond, alien fleets were gathering. Commander, called Ensign Julie Martinez from her sensor station. We have a contact approaching the shield perimeter. Brooks walked over to her console and studied the display. A single ship, sleek and silver, was moving toward the edge of Earth's protected space. Its design was familiar from the intelligence files, a hegemony diplomatic vessel. Size and armament? Brooks asked. 300 meters long, light weapons only. It matches the profile of their ambassador-class ships, Brooks nodded. After 6 months of silence, the hegemony was finally making contact. He had expected this day would come, but that did not make it any less tense. Open a channel to Earth Command, he ordered. Admiral Morrison needs to know about this. On Earth, Admiral Morrison sat in the war room beneath NORAD, studying reports. From deep space monitoring stations, Dr. Amy Foster had been tracking alien fleet movements for months, and the news was not good. The hegemony was assembling more ships than any human had ever seen in one place. Admiral, came the voice of his communications officer. Liberty Station reports a hegemony diplomatic vessel approaching the shield. Morrison felt his stomach. Titan, put me through to Commander Brooks. The screen in front of him flickered to life, showing Brooks on the bridge of Liberty Station. Behind him, Morrison could see the crew working at their stations, tense but ready. Commander, what is the status of the alien vessel? Sir, it stopped just outside the shield perimeter 5 minutes ago. No attempt to cross the barrier, but they are broadcasting on diplomatic frequencies. What are they saying? They request permission to speak with Earth's leaders. The ship identifies itself as carrying Ambassador Veltar of the Hegemony Imperial Council. Morrison was quiet for a moment. He had heard of Veltar, a high-ranking diplomat who had negotiated the surrender of 7 different species. If the hegemony was sending him, they were taking Earth's declaration seriously. Deny their request, Morrison said finally. Earth's space is closed, no exceptions? Sir, what if they try to force their way through the shield? Then we destroy them. Our position is clear. In the White House, President Helen Davis watched the diplomatic vessel on her secure monitor. Her military advisor, Colonel Pete Williams, stood beside her, his face grim with worry. Madam President, Williams said, this could be our last chance to avoid a war. Maybe we should hear what they have to say, Davis shook her head. If we let them through now, the shield means nothing. Every alien species in the galaxy will know that Earth's word can be broken. But if we refuse, they might attack. Then we fight, Davis replied, her voice steady. We knew this day might come. When we made our declaration, aboard the diplomatic vessel, Ambassador Veltar stood in his ship's communication center. He was a member of the Zentari species, tall and elegant with silver skin that reflected light like metal. His 3 eyes studied the readings from Earth's quantum shield with growing interest. Ambassador, said his aide, a nervous click with multiple arms. The humans refuse to grant us passage. They say their space is closed to all alien contact. Veltar made a sound of amusement. In his 300 years of diplomatic service, he had never encountered a species that simply refused to talk. Every race had its price, its weakness that could be exploited through careful negotiation. Open a direct channel to Earth, he ordered. I will speak to their leaders myself. On Liberty Station, Commander Brooks received the incoming transmission. He looked at the image of Ambassador Veltar on his screen, noting the alien's confident posture and cold eyes. I am Ambassador Veltar of the Hegemony Imperial Council, the alien said, his words translated by the ship's computer. I demand an audience with your planetary leaders. The Hegemony has ancient rites of passage through all space. Brooks felt his anger rising. Even now, even after Earth's clear declaration, the aliens still spoke as if humans were children who did not understand their place in the galaxy. Ambassador, Brooks replied, Earth's space is closed. Turn back or be destroyed. Veltar's 3 eyes widened slightly. In all his years of diplomacy, no one had ever threatened him so directly. You dare threaten a hegemony representative? Your species is clearly suffering from some form of mental illness. The hegemony does not recognize your claim to this space. The hegemony's recognition is not required, Brooks said coldly. You have 1 hour to leave our territory. The transmission ended, and Veltar stared at the blank screen in shock. His aide approached carefully, knowing that the ambassador's temper was legendary throughout the hegemony. "Sir, what are your orders?" Veltar was quiet for a long moment. His 3 eyes focused on the readings from the quantum shield. The barrier was impressive, unlike anything in the hegemony's technology database. But every shield had weaknesses, and every species had limits to their courage. "Launch a probe," he ordered. "I want to test this shield of theirs." "Sir, that might be seen as an act of aggression." "These humans need to learn what happens when they refuse the hegemony. Launch the probe." On Liberty Station, Ensign Martinez called out from her sensor station. "Commander, the alien ship is launching something. Small object moving toward the shield at high speed." Brooks watched the probe approach the quantum barrier on his tactical display. "All stations, prepare for possible hostile action, if that probe carries weapons." The probe struck the shield and simply vanished, its matter converted to pure energy and absorbed into the barrier. On the alien ship, Veltar watched his readings with growing concern. The human shield had not just stopped his probe, it had completely destroyed it without even a ripple of disturbance. "Launch another probe," he ordered. "This time program it to transmit continuously until impact." The second probe lasted no longer than the first, vanishing the moment it touched the barrier. But in those brief seconds before its destruction, it had transmitted valuable data about the shield's properties. "Analysis?" Veltar demanded. His science officer, a small creature with multiple eyes, studied the data stream. "The barrier appears to be a controlled space-time distortion. It does not just block matter and energy, it prevents faster-than-light travel within its boundaries. Any ship that crosses it would be trapped in normal space." Veltar nodded slowly. Now he understood why the humans were so confident. Their shield did not just protect Earth, it created a prison for any hostile fleet that managed to break through. "Send a message to Supreme Commander Kethver," he ordered. "Tell him the humans have developed technology beyond our current understanding. This will not be the simple conquest he expects." On Earth, Dr. Lisa Grant sat in her laboratory, studying intelligence reports about the hegemony fleet gathering beyond the galaxy's edge. The numbers were terrifying, over 8,000 ships of various sizes, including battleships capable of destroying entire cities with a single shot. Her computer chimed with an incoming message from Dr. Amy Foster in Switzerland. Grant opened the file and felt her blood run cold. Foster's deep space sensors had detected something new, massive. Energy signatures consistent with weapons that could crack planets. Grant grabbed her phone and called Admiral Morrison directly. "Admiral, we have a problem. The hegemony fleet has planet-killer weapons. If they break through the shield, they could destroy Earth completely." Morrison's voice was calm, but Grant could hear the tension underneath. "How long before they arrive?" "Based on their current trajectory and speed, maybe 3 weeks? 4 at the most. Doctor, I need you to work with our best scientists. Find a weakness in their technology, anything we can use against them." "Admiral, their technology is hundreds of years ahead of ours. I do not know if ... Find something, Doctor." "Earth is counting on you." As Grant ended the call, she looked out her laboratory window at the night sky. Somewhere out there, the largest fleet in galactic history was heading toward Earth, intent on teaching humanity the price of defiance. But as she returned to her computer and began analyzing alien technology patterns, she felt a spark of hope. The hegemony had conquered dozens of species, but they had always faced enemies who fought by their rules. Humanity had never been good at following rules. Aboard the diplomatic vessel, Ambassador Veltar received his final orders from the hegemony. High Command. His mission had changed from negotiation to intelligence gathering. The humans had proven they would not negotiate, so now the Empire needed to know everything about Earth's defenses. "Begin passive scanning of their orbital installations," he ordered. "I want to know the location of every weapon, every ship, every defensive position they have." As his ship's sensors swept across Earth's space, Veltar wondered if the humans truly understood what they had started. The hegemony had never been denied, never been defied so completely. Their response would be swift and absolute, but as he studied the readings from Earth cities teeming with billions of humans who refused to surrender, he felt something he had not expected. Hegemony fleet arrived like a storm of metal and fire. Captain Steve Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Deep Space Patrol ship Defender, watching in horror as thousands of alien vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. The display screen showed ship after ship, more than any human had ever seen in one place. "Mother of God," whispered his tactical officer Nancy Kim, staring at the sensor readings. "There must be 10,000 of them." Rodriguez felt his mouth go dry. The Defender was one of Earth's newest ships, built with technology learned from captured alien equipment. But against a fleet this size, it was like a single ant facing a stampede. "All stations, battle stations," he ordered, his voice steady despite the fear in his chest. "Nancy, get me a count on their ships." Nancy's fingers moved across her console, sorting the massive collection of contacts into different categories. "I count 8,700 combat vessels plus support ships. Sir, some of these signatures are bigger than anything in our databases." Engineer Tony Martinez looked up from his station, sweat beading on his forehead. "Captain, our weapons were designed to fight single ships or small squadrons. Against a fleet this size, we do our job, Tony," Rodriguez said firmly. "We are the first line of defense. Every minute we buy Earth is another minute for them to prepare. On Earth, alarms scream through every military base and government facility." Admiral Morrison stood in the NORAD command center, watching as the tactical display filled with red dots representing enemy ships. The scale of the invasion was beyond anything they had planned for. "Sir," called his aide, Major Rick Thompson, "we are receiving a transmission from the Hegemony fleet. They are demanding our immediate surrender." Morrison walked to the communication station and activated the main display. The image of Supreme Commander Kethver filled the screen, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of dominance. "People of Earth," the alien commander said, his voice translated by the computer. "I am Supreme Commander Kethver of the Hegemony Imperial Fleet. You have defied the natural order of the galaxy. You have closed space that belongs to all civilized species. This ends now." Morrison stepped forward, his weathered face hard with determination. "This is Admiral Morrison of Earth Defense Command. You are in violation of Earth's territorial space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Kethver's four eyes glowed with what might have been amusement. "Admiral, you command perhaps a few hundred ships. I command 10,000. Your barrier will not protect you forever. Surrender now, and your species will be allowed to live as subjects of the hegemony." "Go to hell," Morrison replied, cutting the transmission dot in the silence that followed. Morrison turned to his staff officers. "Gentlemen, ladies, we all knew this day might come. The hegemony thinks they can frighten us into submission with numbers and threats. Let us show them what humans do when we are backed into a corner." On Liberty Station, Commander Ryan Brooks watched the hegemony fleet begin to move. The ships spread out in a massive formation, surrounding the solar system like a net. Their plan was obvious: a complete siege, cutting off any possibility of escape or reinforcement. "Commander," called his communications officer, Lieutenant Kate Carter, "the alien fleet is jamming all long-range communications. We can still talk to ships within the system, but nothing beyond the shield." Brooks nodded grimly. The hegemony was isolating Earth, ensuring that no other species could observe or interfere with what was about to happen. It was a standard tactic they had used on dozens of conquered worlds. "Any word from the Defender?" he asked. "Captain Rodriguez reports his ship is holding position near Jupiter. He is tracking 3 hegemony scouting groups moving through the outer system." Brooks wished he could send reinforcements, but Earth's fleet was small compared to what they faced. Every ship would be needed for the main battle when it came, deep in the asteroid belt. Captain Rodriguez maneuvered the Defender between the spinning rocks, using them as cover from alien sensors. His crew had been hunting hegemony scouts for 2 days, trying to prevent them from mapping Earth's defenses. Contact bearing 270, reported Nancy Kim. 3 ships moving fast through the belt. Rodriguez studied the tactical display. The alien ships were spread out in a search pattern, their sensors sweeping for human vessels. They moved with the confidence of predators who had never known defeat. Tony, how are our stealth systems holding up? Martinez checked his readings. We are running silent, but if they get too close, they will spot us. Then we make sure they do not get that chance. Nancy, lock weapons on the lead ship. The Defender crept closer to its targets, hidden among the asteroids like a wolf-stalking sheep. The alien ships continued their search pattern, unaware of the danger closing in on them. Firing solution locked, Nancy reported. Fire. The Defender's plasma cannons erupted with brilliant light, striking the lead alien ship before it could react. The vessel's shields flared and collapsed, and the ship broke apart in a shower of metal and fire. The remaining 2 alien ships immediately turned toward the Defender, their weapons charging for battle. But Rodriguez was already moving, diving behind a large asteroid as enemy fire lit up the space where his ship had been. Return fire, he ordered. Hit them hard and fast. The battle among the asteroids lasted 20 minutes. The Defender was faster and more maneuverable than the alien ships, but they had superior weapons and shields. In the end, Rodriguez managed to destroy 1 more enemy vessel before the 3rd escaped, carrying word of the human attack back to the main fleet. Damage report, Rodriguez called as his ship limped away from the battle site. Hull breaches on. Decks 4 and 7, Martinez reported. Shield generators are offline and we have lost 30% of our weapon systems, Rodriguez nodded. They had hurt the enemy, but the cost was high. And this was just a minor skirmish compared to what was coming on the Hegemony flagship. Supreme Commander Kethver received the report of the asteroid battle with growing anger. 3 ships lost to a single human vessel was unacceptable, especially when those ships were supposed to be gathering intelligence. How did 1 small ship destroy 3 of our scouts? He demanded, his tactical officer a creature with 6 arms and compound eyes studied the battle data. The human ship used unconventional tactics. Instead of facing our ships directly, it used the asteroids for cover and struck from ambush. Ambush tactics, Kethver repeated. How primitive. Perhaps, Commander, but effective. The human ship also showed remarkable speed and maneuverability. Their technology may be more advanced than our initial report suggested. Kethver walked to the main display, which showed the solar system surrounded by his fleet. Earth hung in the center like a blue jewel, protected by its quantum shield. Soon that protection would be tested. Begin the bombardment, he ordered. I want continuous fire on their barrier. Find its breaking point. Sir, our weapons experts estimate the shield can withstand conventional bombardment for several months. Then we use unconventional weapons. Deploy the gravitational disruptors. If we cannot break their shield, we will make the space inside it unlivable. On Earth, President Davis stood in the Oval Office with her entire cabinet, watching the first Hegemony attack begin. The quantum shield flared with brilliant light as alien weapons struck it from every direction. The barrier held, but the energy readings were enormous. How long can the shield withstand this level of bombardment? She asked. General Stone checked his tablet. Our engineers estimate 6 to 8 weeks at current levels. But if they increase the intensity ... then we need to hit back, Davis said. We cannot just sit here and let them pound us into submission. In her underground laboratory, Dr. Amy Foster worked frantically on a new weapon design. She had been studying the quantum shield technology for months, trying to find ways to use it offensively. The breakthrough had come just days before the invasion began. If we can reverse the shield polarity, she explained to her assistant, Dr. Paul Mitchell, we can create a quantum tunnel that bypasses enemy shields entirely. Mitchell looked skeptical. The power requirements would be enormous. We would need to drain half the shield just to fire 1 shot. 1 shot might be all we need, Foster replied. If we can target their command ship, you want to assassinate their fleet commander? I want to show them that Earth's defenses are not limited to hiding behind barriers. As the bombardment continued, Captain Ben Carter prepared Luna Base for possible invasion. The base's weapons were aimed at space, ready to fire on any ship that broke through the shield. But Carter knew that if the aliens made it past the barrier, Luna Base would not survive long. "Sir," called his communications officer, Sergeant Dan Kelly, "we are receiving reports from monitoring stations throughout the system. The aliens are not just bombarding the shield, they are setting up some kind of gravity weapons." Carter felt a chill of fear. Gravity weapons could affect entire planets, causing earthquakes, tidal waves, or worse. The hegemony was not just trying to break through Earth's defenses, they were preparing to make the planet uninhabitable. "Get me Admiral Morrison," Carter ordered. Within minutes, Morrison's face appeared on Carter's screen. The Admiral looked tired, but his eyes were 3 months into the siege, Earth seemed doomed. The quantum shield flickered and sparked under constant bombardment from the hegemony fleet. Sections of the barrier had already failed, allowing alien ships to establish bases on Mars and several outer moons. The gravity weapons had turned Earth's tides violent and unpredictable, causing floods that destroyed coastal cities around the world. In the ruins of Geneva, Dr. Amy Foster worked in a makeshift laboratory built in the basement of a destroyed university. Above her, the city lay in rubble from the gravitational attacks, but she refused to give up her research. Her latest project could change everything if she could make it work. "The quantum tunneling device is almost ready," she told Commander Nicole Turner, who had arrived with supplies from the Resistance Network. Turner had been an astronaut before the war, but now she led underground cells that smuggled equipment and coordinated attacks against alien occupation forces. "How does it work?" Turner asked, studying the strange device that looked like a metal tube covered in glowing crystals. "It phases matter through enemy shields," Foster explained. "We fire it at their ships, and it passes right through their defenses before exploding inside their hull. No shield in the galaxy can stop it because it does not exist in normal space." During transit, Turner nodded, understanding the implications. "How many can you make?" "With current resources, maybe 20. But each one requires exotic matter that we can only get from captured alien equipment." "Then we need to capture more alien equipment," Turner said grimly. "I know just the target." In the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Morrison commanded Earth's remaining forces from a bunker carved deep into solid rock. The Noriv facility had been expanded into a vast underground complex, connected by tunnels to similar bases around the world. It was here that Morrison planned humanity's most desperate gambit. "Operation Phoenix is ready to launch," reported Major Julie Barnes, his new chief of staff. "We have infiltration teams positioned near 12 alien bases throughout the system." Morrison studied the tactical map showing alien positions in red and human forces in blue. The enemy controlled most of the outer solar system now, but they had made a crucial mistake. They thought like conquerors, not like defenders. "The hegemony has never faced a species that fights back after losing," Morrison said to his assembled officers. "They expect us to surrender or hide. Instead, we are going to hit them where they think they are safe." Captain Alex Wright stood at attention with his special operations team. They had spent weeks training with captured alien equipment, learning to use enemy technology against its creators. Wright was young for a captain, but he had proven himself in the asteroid belt battles. "Sir, what is our primary target?" Wright asked. "The command base on Europa," Morrison replied. "If we can capture their regional communications hub, we can disrupt their coordination across the entire system." Lieutenant Mary Chun, Wright's second-in-command, studied the intelligence photos of the Europa base. "Sir, the base is heavily defended. Getting in will be difficult." "Getting in is the easy part," Morrison said with a cold smile. "Staying alive long enough to complete the mission will be the challenge." On Europa, hegemony forces had established their regional headquarters in a massive dome complex on the moon's icy surface. The base commanded a view of Jupiter and could coordinate attacks throughout the outer system. Its commander, war leader Thektos, believed the facility was impregnable, Vectos was a member of the Krill warrior caste, bred for battle and conquest. His species had served the hegemony for 2 centuries, and he had personally overseen the conquest of 6 different worlds. The humans, he believed, would be no different from any other defeated species. Status report, he demanded from his aide, a small creature with multiple tentacles. All orbital positions secure, war leader. The human fleet has been reduced to less than 50 vessels, most hiding in the asteroid belt. Their planet shield continues to weaken. And resistance on the occupied territories? Minimal, sir. A few scattered attacks, nothing significant. Vectos nodded with satisfaction. The humans were learning their place in the galactic order. Soon, Earth would surrender and join the long list of hegemony subject worlds, but even as he received his report, Captain Wright and his team were already inside the base. They had approached in a captured alien shuttle, wearing stolen hegemony uniforms and using forged identification codes. The aliens' arrogance worked in humanity's favor. They never expected their enemies to be clever enough to impersonate them. Team Alpha in position, Wright whispered into his communicator as his squad reached the main computer core. Beginning data extraction. Lieutenant Chun led Team Beta toward the communications center, moving through corridors filled with alien technicians, who paid no attention to the disguised humans. The hegemony's size worked against them. With thousands of different species in their empire, no one questioned the presence of unfamiliar faces. Team Beta in position, Chun reported, ready to plant the virus. The virus had been Dr. Foster's second greatest achievement, a computer program designed to turn alien technology against itself. Once installed in the hegemony network, it would spread to every connected system, causing weapons to misfire and shields to fail at crucial moments. All teams execute, Wright ordered. The attack began simultaneously across 12 different alien bases. On Titan, Sergeant Don Kelly and his demolition team destroyed a fuel depot that supplied the entire outer system fleet. On Ceres, Lieutenant Frank Walsh led an assault on an alien prison holding captured human pilots, but the most important target was Europa. Wright's team fought their way through the base's security forces while Chun uploaded the virus into the main computer system. The battle was fierce and desperate, with human weapons against alien technology in the narrow corridors of the enemy base. Right, we have a problem, Chun called over the comm. The virus upload is taking longer than expected. I need more time, Wright looked around at his dwindling team. Half his soldiers were down and alien reinforcements were closing in from all directions. How much time? 3 minutes. 3 minutes might as well have been 3 hours. Right. Could hear alien footsteps approaching from multiple directions, and his team's ammunition was running low. Hold this position, he ordered his remaining soldiers. No matter what happens, Chun gets those 3 minutes. The final battle for the communications center was desperate and bloody. Wright's team fought with everything they had, using captured alien weapons and improvised tactics. When their ammunition ran out, they fought with knives and bare hands. Upload complete, Chun finally called out. The virus is in their system. All teams withdraw, Wright ordered. Mission accomplished. But as his team fought their way toward the evacuation point, Wright saw something that made him smile despite the danger. Throughout the base, alien systems were beginning to malfunction. Lights flickered, doors sealed randomly, and weapon systems turned on their own operators. The virus was working. Across the solar system, the effects spread quickly. Hegemony ships found their shields failing at random moments. Weapons fired on their own vessels instead of human targets. Communications became garbled, making coordination impossible. On the flagship Dominion's edge, Supreme Commander Kethver watched his perfect invasion turn into chaos. Ship after ship reported system failures, friendly fire incidents, and complete loss of contact with command. What is happening? He demanded from his technical staff. Unknown, sir, replied his chief scientist, a nervous creature with multiple eyes. All our systems are experiencing random failures. It appears to be some form of computer virus, but we have never seen anything like it. How is that possible? Our computer systems are protected by quantum encryption? The virus appears to rewrite itself continuously, adapting to our defenses faster than we can counter it. Kethver felt something he had not experienced in decades of conquest doubt. The humans were not fighting like any species the hegemony had encountered. Instead of massive fleet battles or desperate last stands, they used tricks and tactics that turned hegemony strength into weakness on Earth. Admiral Morrison watched the results of Operation Phoenix with grim satisfaction. The alien fleet was still enormous, but it was no longer operating as a coordinated force. Ships drifted out of formation, communications networks failed, and weapon systems fired at random targets. Phase 2, Morrison ordered. Launch the counterattack. Earth's remaining ships emerged from hiding places throughout the solar system. They were outnumbered 100 to 1. But now they faced confused and scattered enemies instead of a unified fleet. The Defender, repaired and upgraded with captured alien technology, led the assault on the Mars bases. Captain Rodriguez and his crew had learned to fight like pirates, striking fast and disappearing before the enemy could respond. Target their supply ships, Rodriguez ordered. Without fuel and ammunition, their big ships are just expensive targets. The battle for the solar system had begun in earnest. Humanity fought with everything they had learned in 3 months of desperate resistance. They used alien weapons against their creators, turned enemy technology to human purposes, and refused to surrender even when defeat seemed certain. As the first day of the counterattack ended, both sides had learned important lessons. The hegemony discovered that numbers alone cow. The final battle began at dawn on a Tuesday. Captain Ben Carter stood on the bridge of Liberty's Dawn, Earth's newest warship built from captured hegemony technology and human ingenuity. Around him, a fleet of 30 ships prepared for the most dangerous mission in human history, a direct assault on Supreme Commander Kethver's flagship. All ships report ready, announced his communications officer, Lieutenant Kate Carter, his sister who had transferred from Luna Base to join the attack. The virus has disabled most of their defensive systems. Carter nodded, studying the tactical display. The Dominion's edge hung in space near Jupiter, surrounded by the remnants of the once mighty hegemony fleet. 3 months of guerrilla warfare had reduced their numbers from 10,000 to fewer than 3,000, and many of those were damaged or operating at reduced capacity. Remember, Carter said to his crew, we are not just fighting for Earth. Every species in the galaxy is watching this battle. If we win, they will know that the hegemony can be defeated. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Paul Mitchell made final adjustments to the ship's hybrid power systems. Human engineering had been combined with alien technology to create something neither species could have built alone. Power levels at maximum, Mitchell reported. The quantum tunneling torpedoes are armed and ready. Above the bridge, pilot Maria Santos led her fighter squadron in a high-speed approach to the enemy flagship. Her small ships darted between the massive hegemony vessels like angry wasps, drawing fire away from the main assault force. Fighters engaging enemy escorts, Santos reported, her voice calm despite the plasma bolts flashing around her cockpit. We are keeping them busy. On the Dominion's edge, Supreme Commander Kethver watched the human attack with growing alarm. His 4 arms moved frantically across control panels as he tried to coordinate a defense with systems that failed randomly thanks to the human virus. Status of our weapons? He demanded. Primary batteries are offline, reported his tactical officer. The virus has infected our targeting computers. We are firing manually, but accuracy is poor. What about our shields? Functioning at 60% capacity. The quantum tunneling weapons the humans are using bypass our defenses entirely. Kethver felt something he had never experienced in his long military career, the possibility of defeat. The humans fought like no species he had ever encountered, using their enemy's strength against them and adapting faster than the hegemony could respond. Sir, called his aide, we are receiving surrender requests from 17 ship captains. They want permission to withdraw from the battle. Kethver's 4 eyes burned with fury. Hegemony commanders did not surrender. They conquered or they died. But as he watched human ships tear through his fleet with weapons that should not exist, he began to understand why his captains wanted to flee. The Liberty's dawn closed in on the flagship, its weapons firing continuously. Carter watched the enemy ship's shields flicker and fail under the assault from his quantum-tunneling torpedoes. "All batteries, focus fire on their command section," he ordered. "Let us end this." The final assault lasted 30 minutes. Human ships swarmed the Dominion's edge from every direction, their hybrid weapons carving through alien armor like it was paper. Fighter squadrons led by Santos strafed the flagship's weapon ports, while larger ships like the Liberty's Dawn pounded its main structure. When the flagship's engines exploded, sending it spinning helplessly through space, the battle was over. Kethver found himself trapped on his own bridge, surrounded by sparking consoles and the bodies of his crew. Carter's voice came through the ship's communication system, speaking in the hegemony's common language. "Supreme Commander Kethver, this is Captain Carter of the Earth Defense Force. Your ship is disabled and your fleet is defeated. Do you surrender?" Kethver looked around his ruined bridge. In 1,000 years of conquest, no hegemony commander had ever been forced to surrender to a species they had come to conquer. The shame was unbearable, but as he prepared to activate his ship's self-destruct system, he heard something that stopped him. Through the ship's sensors, he could hear human voices offering medical aid to wounded hegemony survivors, organizing rescue operations for ships that had lost life support. The humans were not slaughtering their defeated enemies. They were trying to save them. "I surrender," Kethver said finally, his voice broken with defeat and confusion throughout the solar system. The remaining hegemony ships faced the same choice their commander had made. Most chose surrender over death, unable to understand how a species they had come to conquer was now offering them mercy. But some ship captains, bred for war and unable to accept defeat, chose to flee instead. They activated their faster-than-light drives and disappeared into the darkness beyond the solar system, carrying news of the hegemony's first major defeat in 1,000 years on Earth. President Helen Davis stood before a joint session of Congress, preparing to address not just her own people but the entire galaxy. The quantum shield had been repaired and strengthened, but its purpose had changed. No longer just a barrier to keep others out, it was now a symbol of human determination and independence. "People of Earth," Davis began, "and all who listen across the stars. 3 months ago, the hegemony empire came to our world with fleets and threats, believing they could force us to surrender our freedom. They were wrong." She paused, looking up at the cameras that would carry her words to every corner of known space. "We tried isolation, and they forced us into war. We will not make that mistake again. From this day forward, Earth takes its place in galactic affairs, but we do so on our own terms." In the deep space monitoring station beyond Pluto, Admiral Morrison watched alien reactions to the president's speech. Species throughout the galaxy were responding with messages of support, many asking for help in overthrowing their own hegemony. Overlords. "Sir," reported his aide, Colonel Pete Williams, "we are receiving requests for military assistance from 14 different species. They want Earth to help them fight for their independence," Morrison smiled. The hegemony's attempt to crush human defiance had instead spread the idea of freedom to every world in their empire. "Prepare a response. Tell them that Earth stands ready to help any species that wants to be free." On Luna Base, Commander Ryan Brooks supervised the construction of Earth's first interstellar shipyard, using captured hegemony technology and human innovation. They were building ships that could travel to the stars and carry Earth's message of independence to oppressed worlds throughout the galaxy. "Commander," called Dr. Lisa Grant, who had joined the project as Chief Alien Technology Specialist, "the new ships are ready for testing. They combine the best of human and alien engineering." Brooks nodded as he watched the sleek vessels take shape in the construction bays. They looked different from both human and alien designs, representing something new in galactic warfare. Ships built by free people to defend freedom itself. In the prisoner compound on Luna Base, Supreme Commander Kethver sat in his cell, studying reports about human society that his captors had given him. What he read challenged everything the hegemony believed about conquest and control. The humans had not enslaved their defeated enemies. Instead, they offered them citizenship, jobs, and the chance to join Earth's growing interstellar alliance. Many hegemony soldiers and officers had already accepted, tired of serving an empire that saw them as expendable tools. "It makes no sense," Kethfer said to Dr. Grant during one of her interviews. "You defeated us. Why do you not enslave us as we would have enslaved you?" Grant considered her answer carefully. "Because that is not who we are. We fought to be free, not to become another empire. If you want to join us, you are welcome. If you want to go home, we will not stop you." Kethfer was quiet for a long time. In his cell, he had access to communication networks that showed him the truth about the galaxy. The hegemony was crumbling as world after world declared independence. Inspired by Earth's example, the 1,000-year empire was falling apart because one small planet had refused to obey. 6 months after the battle, the first human exploration fleet departed for deep space. Admiral Morrison, now commanding Earth's interstellar forces, led 50 ships toward the galactic core, where dozens of species had requested Earth's help in their own wars of independence. "Destination?" asked his navigator, Captain Alex Wright, who had been promoted after his successful missions against alien bases. "The Centauri Confederacy," Morrison replied. 3 species there have declared independence from the hegemony. They need our support to make it stick." As the human fleet engaged their faster-than-light drives and disappeared into the stars, Earth watched from its position in the solar system. The planet that had declared its space closed now commanded fleets that ranged across the galaxy. Dr. Amy Foster and Commander Nicole Turner stood together on the observation deck of the rebuilt Luna base, watching the ships depart. Around them, construction continued on new vessels, research stations, and defensive platforms. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we had just accepted hegemony rule?" Turner asked. Foster shook her head. "Humanity has never been good at accepting what others tell us is possible. We declared our space closed, they invaded anyway, and we